All right, good morning. I hope you've had a wonderful weekend. This morning we got lesson 213, which is a review of 193, lesson 193. All things are lessons God would have me learn. Lesson 213 is a review of 193. We will begin and end each session with the theme behind this review lesson, which is, I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me. All right, I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me. All things are lessons God would have me learn. A lesson is a miracle which God offers me in place of my egoic thoughts I made that hurt me. What I learn from the Holy Spirit becomes the way I am set free. And so I choose to learn the Holy Spirit's lessons and forget my own ego's false teaching. I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me. All right, I'm going to go read the lesson from 193. Tom's going to lead us in a little activity, and we're going to go have a fantastic day. God does not know of learning, yet God's will extends to what God does not understand, in that God wills the happiness of his child, inherited of God, to be undisturbed, eternal, forever gaining scope, eternally expanding, in the joy of full creation, and eternally open and wholly limitless in God's child. That's the opening lines. And here we go. All things are lessons God would have me learn. God's will is that his child be wholly limitless and create like God himself, and that your happiness be undisturbed. Yet because we have forgotten what we are, we need to remember that truth. God's will guarantees that we will return to the knowledge of our true identity. To ensure this result, God has given us the Holy Spirit to teach us the learning lessons that are needed for us to reawaken to our divine birthright. Because we identify with the ego's thought system, we perceive ourselves to be a little s self. We believe that lack, limitation, and separation are our reality. We perceive that we have needs that have not been provided for by our Creator. Due to this erroneous belief, we believe that our happiness and God's will are not the same. We see contradictions where there are none. We believe that there is something outside of ourselves we need to make us happy, and that our Creator has failed to provide for our needs. Our ego, however, has developed numerous plans to ensure that these perceived needs of the ego are met. When another party fails to perform according to our ego's plan, we claim to be harmed by that other party. We blame them for their failure to make us happy, and we hold a grievance against them. Our ego's failure to understand that our mind is the power source for all of our experience leads us to believe that there are external forces that oppose our happiness. We believe God's plan and our plan for our happiness are in conflict. God does not learn. God knows. Since God knows that our mind is the powerhouse behind all our experiences, God sees no contradiction between our happiness and His will. Whenever we see a contradiction between the two plans, it's because of the ego's desire to be different and special from the one self. Our ego believes that its happiness lies in its belief in separation. Unfortunately, when you accept the idea of separation, you automatically inherit the attributes of lack and limitation that accompany that belief. When the ego uses the power of the mind to create, it extends its own belief in lack, limitation, and separation. Being unlimited, our ego's false fantasies can only result in our unhappiness. God allows our ego's wish to experience lack, limitation, and separation, since our split mind believes it will lead to our happiness. Unfortunately, for the split-minded, it only leads to pain, suffering, and misery. But the Holy Spirit knows that these same experiences will provide learning lessons for our return to right-mindedness. Although the forms and actors within each lesson will change over time, the theme behind all these lessons is the same. The fundamental content that all lessons are designed to teach is this: forgive, and you will see this differently. Forgive, and you will see this differently. Your ego's beliefs and desires become your experiences that provide the lessons that are needed for your decision to reclaim your true identity. Pain provides the feedback mechanism that allows you to monitor your state of mind. If there is any pain when you experience or review an event, you're still holding grievances and have not forgiven yourself and your world. You remain trapped within the prison of your unforgiving mind. You are still under the misperception that if something outside of your mind behaved differently, you would be happy. You have failed to claim responsibility for your own thoughts and denied the creative power of your mind. Until you are willing to forgive as defined in this course, you will experience some form of pain associated with the experience. Whenever someone perceives pain as real, the lesson the experience was designed to teach has not been learned. And they still need to forgive. When you turn that same event over to the Holy Spirit will reframe the experience to allow you to forgive yourself. This allows you to move out of victim consciousness and recover your inner peace. You're never a victim of outside forces that are beyond your control. You are never a victim. Any unforgiving thought that you hold about yourself, your world, and your brother or your sister will be corrected by the Holy Spirit, and your mind will be freed from that grievance. The Holy Spirit teaches the truth that heals the mind's split. The split mind's misperception that God's will is different from your own will. All stress in your life caused by unforgiving mind and your ego's desire to hold grievances. Forgiveness removes all thought, sin, guilt, fear, and pain that were or are associated with any event. When you forgive, you control your fear and realize that you are the causative force for your experiences. Because of this, your mind is invulnerable and cannot be affected by anything outside your mind unless you choose to allow it. Forgiveness has the power to release all minds from the bondage of the grievances they hold. There is a 3-step process that will give you power over all events. When anything appears that would move your mind into fear, remember these 3 steps as you ask for guidance. First, remember all things are lessons God would have you learn. Next, tell yourself that when you forgive, you will see this differently. Finally, affirm that you will forgive, and this will disappear. When you ask for the guidance of the Holy Spirit, repeat these 3 thoughts, and the Holy Spirit will provide the miracle that you seek. Your inner peace will be restored. Remember that a miracle is merely a change in your own mind's perception that moves you from fear to love and forgiveness. And Tom's question of the day is, the ego teaches that you must earn your way back into heaven. The Holy Spirit teaches that you learn your way back into heaven. What is the difference? Thanks, Tom.
Okay, today, of course, the overall theme is that I am not a body, I am free. I am still as God created me. And the focus is this idea that all things are lessons God would have me learn. You have come here to actually demonstrate to the abstract oneself what love would have us do in a world that we perceive to be unlike the truth, that we are a oneness, that we have needs, and to believe the idea that we do have needs, that somehow we have lost our divine inheritance, and therefore we have to earn our way back to heaven, that there's something wrong with us and we need to atone, make amends for those past decisions, and that now we have become earners. This lesson is saying, we've got it wrong again. The ego believes that we're an earner, not a learner. What's the difference? A learner takes the the experience as a great adventure, knowing that by going on this adventure, they're on their own perfect path of realizing that truth and actually being part of that experience and demonstrating what they ultimately are, what their goal is to achieve. An earner is on a path in which they constantly want to be ahead of themselves rather than be in the moment and be present and experience that moment. They're always trying to be wondering, are they there yet? Are they there yet? And they're constantly looking and saying, I'm here, but I'd rather be there. I'd rather be at the finish line. And therefore, the whole journey becomes a experience in which they're never present. They're always wanting to be someplace else, and they're constantly judging, thinking that they should be further along the road. Am I behind? I thought I should be already there by noon, and it's 1 o'clock, and I'm still not there. So they're constantly in a state of judgment and worry, and they're not present in the moment. When they get there, then as soon as they get there, it's time to, I'm kind of late over here. I better turn around and go back. I often uh, I go to the Grand Canyon and I see these busloads of people. They've taken a bus to the Grand Canyon, maybe 5, 6 hours. Then the bus stops. They say, there's the restaurants on your right, the Grand Canyon, or if you want to view it, it's on your left. You've got a half hour, and then we've got to leave. We've got to get back. And the people, rather than go to the Grand Canyon, they go to eat. You know, uh, they're not there to enjoy the moment because they're always trying to be someplace else rather than enjoy. The learner enjoys the process. The learner looks and realizes it's the journey, it's the process that makes it fun and exciting. The earner always is in a constant state of judgment, wondering, are they there yet? And when they're there, then they say, okay, it's time to go back. It's time to do the next thing. They never savor the moment. So what we want to do, we're told that all lessons, all things are lessons God would have me learn. And today we're going to look at some past experience and see if we can move from this idea of a earner to a attitude of a learner and see if we can savor the process and grow and learn. This lesson gives us 3 steps. It says that if I have some experience that I feel that I maybe didn't perform or other people didn't perform according to what my ego's plan to make me happy was, I need to become aware that I've lost my inner peace. Remember that you're a learner, not an earner, and therefore remember that all things are lessons God would have me learn. So this experience is telling me something. May only be telling me or providing some feedback that I need to correct my thinking because I've lost my inner peace. And one of the important things that we're here to learn is to realize that I am not a body, I am free. Nothing can rob me of my inner peace unless I choose to allow it. So if I've lost my inner peace, I've moved somewhere into this belief that I, as an earner, have to earn my right to inner peace and that there's some outside forces that need to perform or have the ability to rob me of my own inner peace. I need to remember that all things are lessons God would have me learn. That's step one, which means now I look for the feedback and the learning lesson that that experience was designed to see. If I'm in pain, I've mistaken something. I've allowed something outside of myself to cause, supposedly, me to lose my inner peace. I've forgotten the truth of what I am. So I've believed that either some outside force or myself haven't performed up to my predetermined goal. And therefore, I'm involved with the blame, shame, and guilt game. I've judged others or myself way closer to one that will. And because of that feedback, I can make mid course corrections. So, what was that lesson trying to teach me? What did I have to believe about myself to have that experience that, in this case, let's say, caused me pain? So, I've got to look and say, what beliefs? Did I believe that I wasn't worthy of being respected? Did I believe that Joe had to do certain things to make me happy? Where was the misperception, the belief that made me supposedly vulnerable to this idea that there's outside forces that could cause me to lose my inner peace? So now we say, tell yourself that when you forgive, you will see things differently. So instead of seeing yourself as an earner that failed, see yourself as a learner and say, I've now got some feedback. I've got a valuable lesson. And even though it may appear when you travel often, especially when you're climbing a mountain, the trail seems to be going downhill. It's a switchback trail designed to get you up that hill. Know that you're on your own perfect path. And as a learner, you can enjoy the process and realize that that's another successful identification of one way that will not work, that gets you back on the right trail. And then the third step in this three-step process is affirm that you will forgive and this will disappear. You will forgive yourself, your other actors on the stage for the roles they play. Before we can enjoy that process, and our inner peace will be restored. If we were to play that event over in our mind and there is still some pain associated with it, we realize that we haven't totally forgiven. And whenever we go through this process and we think that we've forgiven, you might want to visualize even unpulling that energy circuit that was tied to that experience, that was keeping that pain alive. And as you unplug it, realize that I am not a body, I am free, I am still as God created me, and take responsibility for your own perfect journey. Give yourself permission to continue on your perfect path and unplug the energy circuit that keeps that grievance alive. The pain will disappear. If you play that experience over and you still have some pain, run it again. There's some unwillingness to forgive somebody or something. It might be that you can forgive the other person for their role, but you can't forgive yourself. So that's the process that we're going to look at today. So why don't you pick some experience in your past that didn't turn out right, that you still have some pain associated with it? And if you have some pain, that means there's some learning lesson or forgiveness that still needs to be associated with that experience. So go and search your mind for some experience that you've had in the past that still seems to be a pain in which you feel hurt, maybe disrespected, or that you believe somebody wronged you, hurt you, or didn't act the way they should have to make you happy. And realize that, you know, it's all right to feel that way. Feel that pain and just kind of sit there in that moment, realizing that there's an energy circuit that's still plugged in to that past experience. And that energy circuit is feeding that pain, that making that memory instead of a thing of where we can recall the memory and it not cause us pain because we still haven't forgiven something. There's some pain still associated, some feeling of disrespect for ourselves or other participants in that activity that we feel we want to keep them or ourselves in that prison of our own mind of unforgiveness. We perceive ourselves to have been an earner in that situation, and that somewhere, someone or ourselves have failed. They failed us, and now let us realize that as a learner, what was that experience trying to teach me? What would I have to believe about myself to call that into my awareness, to bring that into my experience? What lesson was it designed to teach? Was it designed to teach me that I am responsible for my own happiness and inner peace? Was it designed to teach me that my demand that somebody else make me happy was a misplacement of my own responsibility for my own journey? Did I fail to somehow take responsibility and want to dump that responsibility on somebody else and say, you're responsible for my happiness? Was it maybe that I felt that I was not worthy and therefore I called this experience into my awareness so that I could realize that I am worthy, I am lovable, that God is only unconditional love, and I have to give myself permission to accept that love. I have to give myself permission to say, I am worthy. You I deserve respect. I do not have to have you supported control. What was that designed to teach? Remember that all things are lessons God would have you learn. Step two is tell yourself that when you forgive, you will see things different. Forgive all the participants. Forgive yourself and look at that experience again as a learning lesson. No longer see it as an earning lesson in which you're a failure or somebody else was a failure. Instead, see yourself as a learner, that was a necessary step on your journey of honing your skill. Tell yourself that when you forgive, you will see things differently. Now move to step 3. Affirm that you will forgive and this will disappear. Take responsibility for allowing yourself to have that experience. Realize that you as a learner needed that experience to grow and learn. And now, because of that experience, you're so much further down the road. Now you've learned that lesson. See that energy circuit that was keeping that judgment alive, that blame, shame, and guilt for yourself or others. And as you've forgiven yourself now, pull that up, release that judgment, realize you're on your own perfect journey. It's exactly what when I forgive, this pain will disappear. Now let's replay that experience and look at it from the experience of a learner, an observer, and play that experience through and see, can you see that as a learning lesson? Have you forgiven the participants, including yourself, for the roles that were assigned for us to learn that lesson? Do we still feel some pain associated with it? If we do, then know that we haven't totally accepted our own role for being part of that experience. We've still believe that there's something that we should blame another or ourselves for. We need to redo the steps. We need to say, remember, all things are lessons God would have me learn. Tell yourself that when you forgive, you will see things differently. And forgive is to realize we're all on our own perfect path, that we're responsible for the things we call into our awareness, that if there was any pain associated with it, it was because we failed to understand the truth of what we are, that we as decision makers are responsible for our own beliefs, that we've got a case of stinking thinking, and that experience is telling us that somewhere we've believed that this is not the true state. I am not a body. I am free. I am still as God created me. Somewhere we believe we're sinners. We've somehow lost our ability as decision maker to be in charge of our own happiness and our own inner peace. We've somehow believed that we're not responsible for our happiness, that someone else is that. So now we realize that step 2, we still need to forgive ourselves for causing that experience to come into my awareness. And with that, affirm that you will forgive and any pain will disappear. Pull that plug again as you forgive yourself and give yourself permission to move forward. pull that plug that kept that energy circuit going, that pain. When you do that, the pain will disappear. But we have to check it. So go back, take those steps, and see if you can observe that experience without any pain. The Course in Miracles is a practical course. It's designed to help you correct your own stinking thinking. That's what you're here to realize you're alert. So today, remember this process. Remember that you are in charge of your own decision. God's will is that you be happy, and you've been given the freedom to choose your own perfect path. You've been given the freedom to be in charge of your own inner peace. Today, I will realize that all things are learning lessons. God would have me learn. The lesson is ultimately God's will is that I be happy, and He has given me the freedom to do that. For I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created, perfect, whole, and complete. You are the light, and it's only your decision to perceive yourself differently that needs to be corrected. Today, let's go about and realize we have the ability to pull the plug of all those painful experiences and forgive ourselves and all the participants, and let recover that energy circuit, and let that recovered energy circuit be the light that lights your world. Create a great day for yourself and your world. Namaste.
Namaste, Tom. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful, wonderful activity. Bringing this a little bit more to life. Go ahead, Papa.
Tom, my hat's off to you for this one. This lesson, as you have helped us understand, is the most powerful lesson that I have ever heard, and that has been now so succinctly given to us. You have given us a key to a locked door. And guess what? That locked door is to our happiness. Not his happiness, her happiness, our happiness. And the key is forgiveness. It's been said a million different ways. But slowly listening to you, word by word, lay this out. You are a master teacher. This is an exceptional, exceptional lesson for anybody who's in any kind of pain, with a complete lesson on how to get out of that pain. Everything that's in the 12-step programs that people with any kind of addiction go through to try and get relief from echoes what has just been said. In the 12-step programs, they focus on resentments. That is the focus, because they know that's the first step in understanding why they're so addicted to some substance. There is some pain in their memory of their own life experience that has to be uncovered in order for them to get the relief from the pain and the ability to have a happy life. Who could ask for more? It is everything that has been said so far in a very succinct way. And when I hear you say that there's just 3 steps, and when those 3 steps are taken that anybody can take, they can be happy again. What more can we offer anybody if they ask us, hey, you, how come you're so damn happy all the time? This is an answer. This one lesson puts it together in a way that I have never heard it put together as clearly as you've done it. I honor you with this. You have put these things together, part of the things that you have learned and part of the things straight out of the book. We now have the key to unlocking any pain we have. That pain actually, in a way of looking at it, came because somehow we plugged ourselves into the wrong circuit. All we really have to do is unplug that. The pain goes away. In the 12-step programs, they call them resentments that are causing pain. Resentments are grievances. Grievances are resentments. In 12-step programs, what is the idea of a resentment? It's something that the word sentiment comes from feeling, or means feeling. You re-feel it, And one of the best explanations of that was like when you watch a football game, right? And all of a sudden, somebody gets tackled, and then 2 other people pile on top of him, and then 4 people pile on top of them. That's a resentment, because that's not the resentment yet. What happens next is they replay that incredible tackle that ended up with 12 people on top of somebody else. It's all a game that we were playing, and all these people toppled on top of us, and that's the pain. And there's a key to getting out from under all that pain. You have unearthed it for us. You have put it together in such a way that anybody who wants this can listen to this, maybe once, maybe twice, maybe 8 times, 10 times. It doesn't matter. This lesson is succinct and clear as I've never heard it before. And I really thank you for putting it together in such a clear way. Thank you, Tom. This is fantastic stuff.
And I put those 3 steps in the chat so you can have them, take them, copy them, use them, make them part of your life. This is it. We're here to be free. So thanks, Tom, for helping us get there. I welcome anybody else who feels like sharing and was moved by this. And if you've got to go be somewhere else on a Monday morning, that's okay too. We'll be here tomorrow to read the next one. Thanks for coming. I'm going to get started at 6:30 every morning, getting closer to it every day.
So I just wanted to talk about Professor G. Ian Taylor. So he was my supervisor when I was a medical student, and he's one of the worst people I've ever come across in my entire life. So I was 19 at the time and really starry-eyed about surgery. And he ran the most prestigious and competitive lab at my university. And at the end of my research with him, he said, "Linda, you're too nice for surgery," as if to reject me. And it was one of the most devastating insults that I've ever had. And it led me down this path of trying to prove him wrong by being the opposite of nice. And looking back, I just wished that I had another mentor or a friend or someone who just pulled me aside and said, "This guy's a moron." move on with your life and
Oh my God, I
just
love that.
ignore the rubbish he says. Yeah. And I feel like so much of my life has been taken away because I became inauthentic to try and disprove this asshole. And I just like some advice on Tom for how to interpret these events and what lesson the Holy Spirit is trying to get me to receive.
Tom, the mic is yours. He is he is right now getting inspiration from the Holy Spirit. I can clearly see him like being connected. I can hear you. You have to.
Oh, what was that? Was that a question for me?
Yeah, it was
Oh,
directed to
oh,
you.
How do you deal with
okay.
assholes in your
Well,
life that
I
give
was
you
just
bad advice?
going to say that one of the things that it could just be is that you need to trust your own inner guide. There is no guru for you. There is nobody that can tell you what your own perfect path is. You know for yourself, and what you really allowed yourself to do in that position was to disempower yourself, say that there's some guru, there's somebody that's so smart that you've put on a pedestal, and that you are now waiting for their approval. And no longer do you trust your own inner guide, but you think that somebody outside of you has to approve your path, has to say, Linda, actually surgery, eh, not for you. That's for tough people, and you're too nice. And now, rather than say, no, that's not true. A nice person can be a surgeon too. I can, this is my path. You've allowed somebody that you've put on a pedestal and probably helped that person believe that they're God in regards to being able to pronounce who can and can't go forward, that you've allowed someone to be able to supposedly determine your own perfect path, and you've doubted yourself. And that may very well be the lesson that was designed to teach. Why would I listen to somebody else and give them power over my future destiny? I am on my own perfect path. And that person might, in regards to this role, this experience, why I had that is because probably all my life or past lives, I've had the experience of allowing somebody else to tell me what I needed to be. Maybe even the idea that I wanted to be a surgeon wasn't my own. Maybe my mother said, or my father said, it would be nice to have a doctor in the family. If you want to make me happy, Linda, become a doctor, because then you'll be, who knows, rich. Maybe that's how she perceives it. You'll be able to give our family some additional prestige. We'll be able to say, we have a doctor in our family. And therefore, Linda, by you becoming a doctor, you will make me happy. These things are all trying to tell us something. What is your path? Don't allow other people to determine what your path is. Don't allow some guru, some parent, some peer group to say, hey, if you want to be happy, you need to take this drug. You decide. You are the decision maker. But go within and ask for the guidance of your higher self. And then, whether you follow that guidance or not, when you've had that experience and it brings you pain, or it seems to put you out of whack on what you thought was your own perfect path, realize that you have the ability to make a new choice, to realize that nothing can empower you. I'll just tell you a personal experience. Okay. Whenever I laid there dying the last time and I was freezing to death and I was looking back at my life and I was thinking of the decisions that I made, I didn't have to be on that field. That was my decision. And what I had done, I had let the party say that they would, that they had, because of their decision, that I should do something. And I had given my responsibility to my family over to them. And I had swallowed that belief that somehow they would take care of my family, that I had to follow the party's line. I didn't have to be there. And as I laid there slowly watching my life slip away, I realized that I had abdicated responsibility for my own happiness. I had allowed others to make my own decisions, and that I had not actually accepted responsibility for my own happiness. I had made them responsible. And as I lay there dying, I knew that the party was going to take care of my family. I knew they didn't give a hoot, that we were just cannon fodder. I realized that. And I vowed to myself that next time around, I'm going to realize that I'm in charge. I can't abdicate responsibility for my own happiness. I can't abdicate responsibility for uh, my world to others. And, you know, we're on our own perfect path. So, whatever learning lessons they had, look back and look at your life and maybe and whenever we look back, and one of the things that we ask, what would this lesson have us do, a lot of times we don't look back far enough. We think that, hey, that doesn't apply. But whenever I lay there dying, I realized that, boy, I had allowed others to supposedly make me happy. That the party, I had given my authority, my decision maker over to the party to let them dictate what Tom was, well, wasn't Tom then, but what I was supposed to do. Okay. And I used that as an excuse. Whenever people weren't happy, okay, I could blame something else. I wasn't responsible. That was the lesson that was, that lifetime was here to teach me. And hopefully I'm going to do a little better this time. But, so look back, and whenever we throw out some ideas, and, if we were in a group, what we'd really do is we'd be sitting there and we'd throw out our experience and we'd ask people, what might one have to believe? And because other people would have different perspectives, a lot of times we're down a rabbit hole, we can't see the forest through the trees. We only have that one thinking that I was disrespected or something like that. And really the lesson was that I had to realize I'm in charge of my own happiness, or I'm in charge of my own perfect path. So whenever these other people throw out ideas, and say, well, maybe it was because of this, or maybe someone would believe this. And that person sits there and says, they might say, well, that kind of fits, but that's not it. But if someone hits on that thing, they're saying, that's it. That's the lesson. Now I know. And once you know, of course, then you can make that mid-course crush. So a lot of times we got to dig around in the dirt. That's why we want to replay that memory. Because if we still have some pain associated with it, we didn't hit it quite right. Okay, so I hope that helps. Uh, thank
And
Thank you,
Linda,
Tom.
I just want to add one little thing. The thing that he said to you is, you're too nice. If he had just stopped there, he would have been a nice guy. You're too nice. It was a compliment, but
Oh
because
my
he,
gosh,
for
yeah.
some reason, felt that he had to maintain his godliness or his wisdomness. It's made up a new word. I do it all the time. That he had to be your mentor. He had to be the one to teach you, to put you on a better path. The problem, or the thing not recognized at that moment that he said that to you, is, what is he thinking about himself? That because he's not very nice, he could be a great surgeon? That is so ridiculous. That thought makes no sense at all when it's uncovered and examined for what it's really saying. Basically, what he was doing is giving you a very high compliment and then kicking you in the teeth,
I,
unfortunately.
I have something like another perspective. It's wonderful because Tom gave us a very nice and deep perspective. You gave us another, and I just realized another one that I wish you can remember. I hope you can remember when that happened. What were your thoughts about surgery? Because having the ability to cut some other people's bodies in order to heal them has a lot of challenge in the mind, because who will cut another people's body in order to heal them? I mean, you have to be brave, in fact. So what was the shared belief system around surgery between you and your teacher, that you had to experience that sentence as a fixed program for you to be successful in what you were learning? What is surgery for doctors that are learning? It's something that is really like cutting pieces of another human being and trying to learn something from another people's body and then heal him, or is really a process of understanding matter. I don't know. It's I don't know. It's really for me like interesting, because whenever I have conflicts, I can realize that it's something that I share in my belief system with the other person, that it seems to have uh, some um, uh, some words of discourage for myself or for my processes. There has always been something that connects us. So, what is the belief about surgery that needs to be corrected or forgiven there, because you both experienced that in a deep sense? I mean, he said that because he was trained. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. He was trained in a way that for him was successful, and in that path he realized that he couldn't be nice because he needed to be strong to be able to cut other people's body or whatever. And he was in his own path, learning how to heal people in that specific way. But being nice to do surgery, in fact, is what is required right now in order for have a successful healing process. You have to treat people like yourself, so you have to address people in a nice way, even if they are laying down in a table with any consciousness of their bodies. You need to treat them with humanity in order for the healing process to be part of a specific process in the level of form. So, what are belief systems around surgery that connect you both in order to let aside the nice part of it. I mean, the being nice, the being kind of it. And that is probably what it needs to be forgiven. And it has a lot of layers and a lot of higher level of consciousness in there. So I hope these three perspectives of your experience are really um, opening your perspective on what happened with you.
Yeah, if we could, if Linda wanted to, we could actually, kind of run through this process. There was a couple of ideas thrown out, Linda. Uh, did any of those resonate with you? And what did you
Y-
come up with?
Um, it um, it was an awakening to realize that I am actually the authority in my life, and I'm glad that I learned that lesson, at least in retrospect. Um, so it was really helpful to um, get that interpretation, and also with Bob's interpretation of it being a compliment. Now I actually see it as the highest compliment, because I just have utter contempt for surgeons and surgery, because they are assholes. They get sued. They're horrible communicators.
That
They're
is so
pretty brutal people, and they're not people I want to emulate. So at the time, I was this naive young medical student who was effectively told that she wasn't good enough for surgery because she was too nice. Now I don't think surgery is good enough for me because I'm too nice for surgery. So it was really helpful for Bob to inspire me to that new perspective. I'd really like to run through the process with you, Tom, and yes, see where we go with it.
Tom,
I'm
I'm
all for
sorry, your
that.
mic is off. No, wait, Tom is trying to talk, but he has his
Oh,
mic off. I have to
oh, okay.
close it.
Yeah, okay, so what it is, we don't really, well, whenever we're doing this process, okay, if you feel that something hit home, okay, we don't need to create a story about it to justify that now it taught us that uh, all surgeons are assholes. That's not what it's designed to teach us. That's a story that we've made up. We've got to be willing to take responsibility as to how that plays out. Now, it is a situation. Why did you want to become a medical student to begin with?
That is a fantastic question. I don't know. Um, in terms of the substantive reasons behind why exactly I chose that career, I don't have a good reason. The practical reason and why I chose it was because I had high academic marks, and I wanted to make the most of them. So I picked the course that maximized the utility of my high marks. But it wasn't my passion. It wasn't what I loved. It wasn't what I was curious about.
Okay, excellent. Okay, now we might want to look at that and say, what belief would I have to have about myself that says that I have perhaps some responsibility to, because I've seemed to have high mark, that I have to believe that I have to take a certain role. That's not my passion. That's not my journey. What would I have to believe about myself that would allow me to say I have perhaps some duty or responsibility because I'm supposedly gifted or I'm talented. And therefore, someone says, because of that talent or that skill, this is my path. This is what I need to do. Perhaps it might be the idea that you've been given a lot. Therefore, daughter of mine, you need to be a responsible adult. And the way you can best benefit the world or best help my ego believe I've got a daughter worthy that I can be proud of is to be in some material or some, in this case, prestigious position. And therefore, you can't follow your passion, which maybe is to be a creative person or to be a spiritual person or to be whatever. But that because you've got given this talent, you have a duty and obligation, and therefore you can't be happy. You have to do your duty. How does that sound?
That sounds very close to the mark. So I'm a perfectionist. I saw a psychologist at one point in my life to get an evaluation. And yeah, she found that I was a perfectionist. So initially, I thought I was driven by some sense of inadequacy, like feeling I wasn't good enough. But actually, my core belief is that I want to be the best. And because I was so driven to be the best, I chose careers that signaled that about myself rather than careers that made me happy. And that drove a lot of my decision making.
Okay.
And it was only when I became exhausted that I stopped to think, well, what exactly do I really believe and what do I actually want to get out of life? And actually, I want to be happy.
Excellent insight. So your goal now you realize is that you want to be happy. And by allowing others or by believing in perfection, you're constantly perhaps judging yourself, always wondering, did Linda make the grade? Did she do that perfect? She only got a 99. That means that there's something so wrong with her. She's not living up to her expectation. She should get 100. Maybe these, you know, overall, you need to just keep digging deeper and deeper, going down that rabbit hole. Because what you're really doing, I mean, we could say, we could have stopped and said, oh yeah, it's cutting into somebody and they're going to bleed and I'm causing them pain and all that. And that's I don't want to say superficial, but that's a corollary belief. And what if we discreated that corollary belief and we still had the core belief that I need to get other people's approval. Everybody has to say, hey, you got 100%. I allow other people to judge me, and they have to give me 100% so that I can feel good about myself. Okay, I need that outside confirmation that I got 100% on the test. It's if we can get down to the core belief that the core belief might be that I need other people's approval or okay that I did it right. Okay, I need to get that 100%. And therefore, you're disempowering yourself and not taking responsibility for your own happiness. You've allowed someone else to determine whether or not Linda has fulfilled got the right grade. And if we can if that's the core belief, if we can discreate that belief, if we can correct that and say, no, Linda, I decide who's in charge of my happiness. I give myself permission to say 99 is good enough. You know, I rather than argue for my rightness, I want to argue for my happiness. 99 is a hell of a good score. Okay. I give myself permission to graduate and say, hey, I can check off that box. I'm gonna advance now from kindergarten to first grade because I got a 99. And really, as far as I was concerned, and everybody else, 70 was a passing grade. They would have advanced me. But no, I wanted that perfection. So if we can discreate at the core, what happens is all those other beliefs about ourselves that we had to, I was stupid and therefore I had to study hard. If I studied hard, I could get a decent grade. If I could correct the core belief that I'm stupid and say, hey, I'm gifted. Okay. Now the idea that I have to study isn't required. So what we tend to do is we don't go far enough down the rabbit hole to the core belief. The core belief is I've allowed others to say what my happiness is. I've allowed myself to be too hard on myself. I'm too hard of a judge. And I keep on arguing for my egoic rightness that I need 100% to graduate. And so I've got my ego arguing for its belief that, Linda, you've got the capability of getting 100%. Until you get 100%, my own belief, will not allow you to graduate and be happy. I'm not going to do that. 100's required for Linda, and 99's not good enough. Therefore, go ahead in your life and continue to look for happiness someplace else. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide, no, Linda, you only are doing 99% of your capability. Therefore, I'm not going to let you have happiness anyplace. You're still in kindergarten. Okay. You've got to forgive yourself for this idea of needing perfection and say, hold it, wait, I'm in charge, not you, ego. And now I realize that my demand for perfection is that misbelief about myself. I'm not seeing myself perfect, whole, and complete. I'm seeing myself as an earner, not a learner. And I'm going to lighten up, say, hey, 99, hey, 70 is good enough. I'm going to give myself permission because now it's wasting my time to continue staying in kindergarten when I've already mastered the skill. I got a 99%. And to spend another year, another 5 years, another 50 lifetimes trying to get 100% is not a very good use of my time. There's other lessons to learn, and I need to give myself permission to advance to new lessons. I want to go to the first grade and find out some other things about myself and continue to grow. So you're wasting time when you demand perfection on yourself. No, hey, you're perfect, whole, and complete, and you're on your perfect journey. And you don't have to sit at base camp for the next 50 lifetime waiting around for perfection because your ego has such high standards where someone has told you you are little Miss Perfect and Miss Perfect has to do everything right. That's not your belief. That's not your happiness. That's a belief that is resulting in pain and suffering.
Let
Forgive
me,
that belief and you'll be just fine.
and I'll add to that that in a 12-step group, the first thing that I grappled with many years ago was perfectionism. I can remember, I may have told this before here, trying to work on a design as an architect. And And I draw a little bit, and I say, that's not going to work out right. And I crumble up the paper, throw it away, try another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. And I finally called someone who was a therapist, but also someone in this particular 12-step group. And I said, I'm going nuts here. I can't get anything done because nothing I start to do works out. I always, I just crumble it up and I throw it away. I can't do this right. And I was really unhappy. And she said, after asking me to describe it carefully, as Tom had just asked you to describe the generating of the problem, she said, just today, why don't you design this house, an imperfect house? I said, I can't do that. Why would I do that? It'll fall down. Blah, 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 blah. I gave her 100 reasons within 14 seconds. And she just laughed and she said, just for today, design an imperfect house. I said, well, all right, if that'll make you happy, which is a silly response, but, and then she said, tomorrow you can perfect it. That'll enable you to get the work done today that you have to do. She was addressing my procrastination, not my perfectionism. The net result of perfectionism is often procrastination. And she gave me a way out of the real problem, which is procrastination, so that I could get my work done. I never forgot that lesson. And I can tell you right now that it happened in 1984 because it was at the very beginning of my work in that particular group. So that's a long time ago. And we all can be free from the real problem if we understand what the real problem was. And Linda, the only problem here was perhaps that you didn't even understand that man well enough to figure out that the advice he was giving you had nothing to do with you. In that sense of whether or not you would make a good surgeon, who says surgeons have to be tough and have to be willing to hurt another person? Heck, in most surgeries, they're under anesthesia anyway. They're not hurting the patient. They're fixing something. They're making it better. They're giving that person a chance to use his arms and his legs in a way that he wasn't able to do, or whatever it was. The nicest people are the ones who help other people and help other people to be happy. That would be at the top of my list for the good part of a surgeon, not this erroneous belief that you had a nice word for it. It was probably the best word you could come up with, asshole, that this asshole came up with to determine what you should do for the rest of your life. Which reminds me of a song. If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, this is to men, of course, you should marry an ugly woman. Nobody will want her, and you'll be happy. It's so crazy how the world turns everything upside down, or maybe how we turn what other people say upside down. Bottom line, Linda, is you know what you want is for you to be happy. You've got all the keys to that. In fact, Tom's little statement says, we are, and it's straight out of Course in Miracles, perfect, whole, and complete. Right there, it already says you're perfect. It already said it. You are perfect. You're perfectly Linda. I'm perfectly Bob. Lee is perfectly Lee. Adriana is beyond perfection. That's just my personal take on that.
Oh
see
my
her
God.
now
No, no,
shaking
no,
her.
no. We
No,
cannot
no,
have
no,
this
no,
special
Bob. We can't.
relationship, Bob.
We,
We cannot have this special relationship anymore. So I'm
okay.
quitting.
All right. Okay. Look, this is all about really good stuff, and I'm so thankful for Linda speaking up and letting us look at what you have. We can all be happier than we are even now. Let's all move in that direction, and that makes me complete for today.
Yeah, in regards to Linda and her situation, did any of those ideas, resonate? Did you feel that you went a little deeper? And ultimately, our own ego is, remember, always arguing for our rightness of its belief as opposed to your happiness. So whenever you start looking at these things, you're going to find that your ego is saying that you're justified in demanding perfection. And you, as a decision maker, have to be aware that the ego is always going to argue for the rightness of its own beliefs, of which, as you already indicated, a lot of times we don't know what those beliefs are, but they're not serving us if they cause us pain. Okay, so that's why the Course in Miracles says, choose again, make a different decision. If there's pain involved, okay, there's some lesson to be learned, and the only way you uh, can move towards your happiness is to stop insisting on the ego's belief that you will somehow be happy by continuing to do the same thing over and over again. You need to say, no, ego, today I choose happiness. And I don't care what you say, I'm not going to follow you, because if I continue to demand perfection, if I say, hey, no, you only got a 99, I know the result. It leaves me in pain. There must be a better way. Ask for that inner guidance, shut that ego up, and be quiet and just listen. And whenever you get a response, check with your feelings. Did that really resonate with me? Did that help restore my inner peace? Or is it my ego justifying or adding another story as to why I can continue to let the ego rule my life? So just be aware, and in regards to this surgeon, I don't know if being a medical student, and if you becoming a surgeon would or would not be, but whenever we go through these things, we see that there's certain beliefs on the surface. One of the beliefs would, an easy one is just that surgeons have to be tough, and you, because you believe that this person was a guru, let him decide that you can't become a surgeon. Instead of, maybe your path was, or your happiness would have been, that person's wrong. I can be a surgeon. I can do that, and I can still be a compassionate person. Who knows? But, you know, keep digging down at those core beliefs, because ultimately the thing we're here to learn is, I am not a body, I am free. Nothing sources my happiness, my inner peace, but me as the decision maker, and nothing can rob me of my own inner peace unless I allow it. And if you're not happy, okay, if you're uh, don't see joy, okay, it's because I'm not taking 100% responsibility for my own perfect path. And just be aware of that, and it's okay. We're here to have experiences, but realize you're a learner and don't judge yourself too harshly. You're perfect as you are. I can see you. You're doing just fine. Lighten up on yourself. Uh, Trust yourself and connect with your higher voice, and don't let that ego shout and drown that out. Create a great day for yourself and your world. Thank you, Linda. And thank you. And everybody, I'm going to scoot if I can. Create a great day. Oh, hey, Linda, you feel okay? You feel complete?
I have a question. Can I ask a question to Linda? My
Yes,
Yeah,
question,
sure.
go ahead.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to scoot.
Okay, see you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
My question to you, Linda, is what does being the best mean to you? And why does that feel important?
That is so perceptive, because what Tom surfaced was this underlying drive to be recognized as the best by other people. So I was letting other people define what it meant to be the best. And it just made me think of this adult picture book that I read recently called Pure and True. It's about this young woman who starts off pure and true, and in the pursuit of trying to get love, becomes who she is not. And in the end, kills the pure and true inside her and is replaced by who she is not. And I realized that my process of seeking to become what other people define as the best has made me compromise what was pure and true about myself and replaced it with who I am not. And this exercise has been revealing. It's resuscitated the pure and true inside myself, and made me realize, oh my goodness, all of this ego driven pursuit of trying to become what was recognized by other people as the best had made me become who I am not, in a way that's only superficially covered up what's pure and true inside me. And now I'm in the very fortunate position of realizing that that is what has happened, and peeling back all the layers so that I can get to what's pure and true about myself. So, Tamara, I think you've asked a really perceptive question that's allowed me to communicate the process that has distorted my expression of my true self, and also now the transformation and salvation of what's pure and true about me.
Well, this has been really enlightening in some form for myself. Thank you, Linda. Tamara, I don't know if you want to interact with her response. I just want to say that well, say no. I'm gonna ask another question to Linda. Did you realize what is your passion now that you understood the dynamics of you being in this position to be the best in this area and career? Have you now realized what is that drives you into another path or something? Or are you able to see that you can be also happy being a doctor? Or how is now your perception on that? Because I'm seeing that you really quickly found the. I'm sorry, thank you. I really see that you really quite fast found like the connections there. But I wonder if you now feel that you have this other path solved in terms of your passion or what you really are, as you said. What is that you really are? now that you are realizing these things?
That is a powerful question, because the belief that I need to seek recognition as the best by other people was planted in me by my mother. So as a child, she would compare me to other children and say, Linda, look at such and such. She's so good. Why can't you be more like her? And I was never invited to ask myself who I am and what I love. And it was so painful to be rejected by your mother in favor of someone else. And it led me down this imitative path where I was trying to emulate other people rather than become who I truly am. And I'm just filled with rage. I am so angry that this beautiful child, and I was this beautiful, brilliant child, was lied to and told that she wasn't good enough and had to be someone else to be good enough. And I think I need to heal that first before
Beautiful.
I could surface what my passions are. I'm just
Wow,
filled
that
with
is
rage.
beautiful.
And I have a
Yeah,
question.
that's so true.
This, yeah, this is an amazing conversation, and Linda, it's amazing. Like, good for you for doing this work. And I just I just want to throw out, like, on the track of forgiveness, because I know that's what we're doing in the course. Can you see how the path that you got kind of directed to um, was your best path? I mean, and also finding out that also discovering how it was the wrong path is also your best path. I mean, can you see um, the 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 goal, like
Both
the
sides of the
lesson? I
coin.
mean, yeah, in the Course in Miracles, we call it the I don't remember what I lost it. I almost had it.
I
No,
mean,
in
I,
the Course
I
in
think of it
Miracles,
as both sides of the coin. That both sides, the yes or the no, our ego is going to judge that one is right and one is wrong. But later
no,
on, we can see the
yeah, no,
rightness in it. Okay, okay.
no. That's not what I was going to say. I was going to say, can you see the lesson in it? The Course in Miracles would say the lesson in it, or Tom would say the lesson in it. And in this other work that I
Mhm.
do, she calls it like the golden nugget. Like that like
Yes.
I
the
can see the lesson.
yeah.
I see the lesson as the fact that authority figures don't necessarily know what's best for me. I know what's best for me. So someone can't tell me who I authentically am. So my mother could try to tell me that I should be more like Susie, but ultimately I know who I really am. And so it's actually a really empowering lesson. It's that it doesn't matter how young you are as a child or how naive you are as a student, you will always know your truth more than anyone else. And so it's a powerful lesson in self authorship and transcending the expectations imposed on you by authority figures and deciding for yourself that you are good enough and that you are living the best version of yourself as defined by yourself. So for me, the lesson is self authorship and becoming who I truly am as defined by myself, not by authority figures.
And
Yeah.
it sounds like you're like, and now I understand what you were saying, lay about both sides of the coin, because it sounds like you're a really strong person because of it. That you have this strong conviction. If you hadn't spent all that time going in a direction that you now, I don't know if this is the right word, but maybe regret or think was the wrong direction, then you wouldn't have learned these lessons that you now have in this way and have that kind of strength and conviction that you have. And so, in that way, and I think this is sort of what I've heard Tom say a few times, in that way, you can, forgive this guy because, and forgive your mother because they led you in that direction that now you think was a wrong direction, but ultimately you needed it in order to be the person that you are now and have the understandings. And all timing is divine and perfect.
Can I jump in here?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Linda. You were going to respond. I didn't want to cut you off.
Thank you very much, Janine. I now forgive them. I was so angry for the betrayal of this innocent child and the 19-year-old medical student. But now that I've seen the lesson and now that I've been empowered to self-author, I can say thank you, forgive them, and let it go.
I love your turn. Really love that. Thank you so much for sharing this morning. I've just been listening to everything, and my life actually has a lot of the same parallels in your life. And I think I've talked about it here about how my mother really affected my entire life by her expectations of me. And also, in my case, it was my father pointing out it was my first cousin who was very disciplined and very smart. I was smart too. I was just rebellious. Like I was capable of making those A's. I just didn't want to. And I didn't feel like it. I wanted to do other things. I wanted to have fun and play, and I wasn't all that interested in being academic, even though I had the ability. Um, and I was always made to feel as if whatever I was doing wasn't good enough, and what other people wanted was more valid than me, the adults in my life. And I came on this journey as well, ending up seeing this little brilliant child, this sweet, innocent, brilliant child who was so artistic and sharp and full of energy and everything. And someone saying, you're not good enough. That's not enough. What I want you to do is better. I know more than you. I don't recognize this in you. And it's kind of like, and I wanted to be an artist. That was my thing. Actually, I wanted to be an architect, Bob. And I was never that, none of that was supported in me. It was always like, you need to do something else. And I too was angry. I'm older than you, quite a bit, I think. And I thought, well, why did I have to spend my life through having this ridiculous lesson? Like, I just felt like, because I've seen some people who, from a young age, they kind of know what they want to do. They were supported by their parents, and they were able to go to school and be, what they could be. And I thought, why did I have to waste so much time? So it took me a lot of time to forgive my mom and then forgive myself, because I became this person who felt unworthy, I developed this victim mindset, and I had to unravel and dig through all that. So yeah, it's just amazing, and I could see now, okay, there were a lot of golden nuggets in it. And we all have these journeys we go through, and I still don't know. Actually still am figuring out what it is I really want to do, and who, quote, who I am, who is this person, this amazing person, and just being present with myself and loving myself every day and forgiving myself if I turn up something that comes up that's not too pretty, so to speak, and some little belief, but I can heal it now, so much easier, and I know where it comes from. So, but thank you for sharing your story. And I just wanted to say, I appreciate it. And I see myself in your story. And I too had some perfectionism stuff going on as well, because I was always trying to please others. And if I didn't do this thing, I just wasn't good enough. And for me, mine was the failure of my marriage. It was a huge ego blow, because I was married to a doctor. So for everyone around me, that was just this trophy. And I guess they say trophy wife. I had a trophy husband. And so I was validated based on who I was married to. And then when that fell apart, everything kind of fell apart inside of me. And others around me were judging me, of course. And even though I felt like the marriage itself wasn't working, and I knew it wasn't working, if I let it go, it just kind of meant something that I just wasn't, oh, you're doing the wrong thing. So, yeah, but that's all I wanted to share.
Well,
Thanks.
I just wanted to say if we could only see ourselves as God sees us, we'd be amazed. Uh, you know, we're too hard on ourselves. You know, thank you.
That is beautiful. In fact, I was about to share as well as well, Janine did the great part of my yeah, like the result of this entire conversation in my own perception, because it will be the same as Janine said. I am struggling again with some repetitive. I mean, I have this lesson as a repetitive conflict with my ex-husband, and it has nothing to do with Vera. I mean, it does has to do with Vera now, but it has been always like this, like in different with different actors with between him and me. And now I realize that there's something there beyond our own conflictive relationship that needs to be forgiven from my point of view, in order for me to not have this kind of disconnections anymore. And it's funny because I don't ask for it. For example, yesterday I've been having this situation with Vera that she doesn't want to connect with me to have interactions of a conversation between mom and her. She wants only to play with me. So whenever I play the role of a mom because I see her doing something that is not acceptable and I challenge her, she decides, because she now have more understanding and more control of her devices, she just decides just to hang up on me and not talking to me, and she doesn't want to talk to me. And now the entire weekend I was really expecting to have our regular all morning playing sessions, and it didn't happen because she seems to be mad at me. In my perspective, Kurt always says no, she's okay. I see her happy, and then when I ask her if she wants to talk to you, she only says like, "Yeah, we'll call her later," and then she sends just a picture and she doesn't answer my calls. So this little 6-year-old is giving me a really challenging life now, but it's a good one, I guess. And the situation is that, as I didn't receive the same kind of dynamics this weekend with my daughter, I engaged in a conversation yesterday with my ex-husband where he, without me having to do anything or say anything, he proposed new tools or new ways for us to manage this situation with Vera. And I thought it was so on the right path, and I felt blessed that he now is learning that we can be partners and team up in order for us to raise better, and that he can embrace me in his own reality without having this connection, this kind of conflictive relationship. And I was so thrilled to have that call because I was really feeling like disconnected from my daughter, and he gave me such a new perspective that I said, well, this is another result, another miracle for all my course in miracles, because I didn't do nothing. And I was always pushing my mind in the idea that I don't have to force Vera, that everything will be sorted out without me having to interact with her in a in a controlling way. And then could give me new tools. But what happened is that then at the end of the day, he didn't do what he agreed to do by himself. I mean, I didn't propose anything. He was the one who gave me these ideas and propose these things, and then he didn't follow up in the. I mean, he wasn't being coherent. So at the end of the day, I was 10 o'clock here, I was expecting them to, or a message from him or whatever. Nothing happened. So my ego was all over the place. My fears about what happened, and then I had to write to him. I didn't want to push him, so I was waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, very like anxious to watching my phone to see if I got a new message, and nothing. And then I decided to write, what happened? Well, it's everything okay? And he said, well, we had a complicated day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. And I start to feel this kind of anger inside of me, because it's the same dynamic. He always speaks correctly. When we have a conflict, he comes to me, he apologizes, he proposes new ways, he says the right things, but then he doesn't follow through that. And for me, it's like really, I don't know. It's like, how do you say when?
Drives you crazy.
Well, it's not like driving me crazy. It's just, for me, it's unbelievable, or not unbelievable. It's like, I try to find a word, like it's that, like it's something weird. It's amazingly weird that you talk and you said something and you agree on some things that are coming from you, and you then don't do it, and you expect that the other person that was now placed in a position of 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 agreeing with things to be fine with it. And I realized that I needed to be fine with it, because otherwise the one that wouldn't be able to sleep was myself. And I have to ask Lee help to have a different perspective, because I was really in this bad place of, again, feeling like I left my daughter in this situation, and and I don't have ways to really understand what is going on. He did explain a little bit of what was going on, but he didn't give me opportunity to talk to my daughter during the day. So it's all over the place, this situation.
Well, can I jump in, Adriana?
Yeah, go on, please
It's
do
it's
so.
it,
Help me.
it's it sounds like you know him well. It sounds like you know who he is, be based on previous, not in a judgment kind of way, kind of like I think it's in Don
It's like
Ruel.
this dynamics, and it's something that we share that I
Well,
haven't been
yeah,
able
but
to
but I mean,
understand.
apart from the dynamics, it's kind of like, I think in one of Don Ruel, I can't always pronounce his right. The guy that wrote the Four Agreements. In one of his books, he talks about kind of like, if you have a dog, right? You don't expect the dog to do cat behaviors, right? It's a dog, right? So you can't expect it to do things that a cat would do, right? So it's kind of like, okay, you know this person, and sometimes you do want to think, you always think the best of everyone, but sometimes you have to just look at them objectively, and in love, of course, with love. And in the case of a lot of people, really, and we get disappointed when we have expectations. When we have expectations that someone will do X, Y, Z, even though I know it's what he said. But maybe after a conversation, have no expectations, zero expectations, and go forth, with love. Oh, wow, we had this wonderful conversation. It was wonderful. It was beautiful. Period. Boom. When you hang up, that's it. Like, let it
You
go
nailed it, I think.
completely. Yeah, just let it go and
I
go
think
on
you
with
nailed it.
your presence, and holding him in the space of love. And that's really it. And especially with the distance, I know that's tough. But knowing he is a good person, that he'll care, he'll keep your daughter safe and well. But in terms of you two, your dynamic, to have any expectations, in a way, is kind of setting yourself up again. You know what I mean? And
It's true,
that's just
and it
my
does
my
happen. It
perspective on
happens
it.
almost 50% of the time.
Yeah.
It's frustrating on all the different sides, but
And I hear your
yeah, it's
frustration,
heartbreaking.
Adriana, because I'm that way too. I'm that way with people. Like, if a person tells me something, I used to really like, okay, you said ABC, so you're gonna do ABC.
Hmm.
Exactly,
And I
exactly.
hold it, because I'm kind of like that. Like, usually if I say something, it's done, and people don't have to worry about that with me. But other people, I'll notice not so much necessarily, and I can't judge them that way, and I can't expect that of them. I just have to hold them the way they are, and love them that way. So
Let me
that
Yeah,
was
let me
just
and
my
jump in
thought
here.
on it.
I got to jump in
okay.
here. There is a book. It's the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It was written after they had begun, which was 1935. And on page 449 of that book is a particular paragraph written by a person who was in AA, who had experienced great recovery. And he was trying to pigeonhole or nail down what is the most important lesson he's learned in life that changed his life. And this particular paragraph, people in 12-step meetings, they don't even have to say the word I'm going to use in a minute. I'm going to read this paragraph to you. They just have to say page 449. And someone who actually comes to this room every once in a while, a friend of ours, his father's license plate said page 449. And it's that known by people in 12-step programs. I'm going to read it to you. And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I'm disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Until, says this gentleman, I could accept my alcoholism, or we could put in the word perfectionism or any other ism, I could not stay sober unless I accept life completely on life's terms. I could not be happy. I could not be happy. And the last thing he says is, I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in others as what, well, let me read it the way it is. I was going to change something. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober unless I accept life completely on life's terms. I'm sorry I'm messing this up, but I'm going to finish it. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as on what needs to be changed in me and in my attitudes. That's the complete reading, even though I botched it up towards the end. And Tom, in this lesson, has given us the keys to acceptance. It's that powerful. And I will always remember this particular lesson and send it to copies of this recording to my friends, because it has so many keys to happiness. It doesn't matter what anybody told you you're supposed to be when you grow up. I'm still growing up. I'm 77. What counts is, am I happy today? What else counts? If I'm happy and the people around me are happy, what else do we need to be doing here, folks? So I give you that little
Thank you
lesson in
very much.
acceptance.
Thank
You're
you very
welcome.
much, because by giving me that, look how amazing it is when you ask for help and when you share your situation. I have been chewing this situation in my mind since this morning, and hearing everybody's here and hearing everything lets one thing to another, and my mind starts to put order in the situation. By you reading this, that it's completely true, and I realized since last night by talking to Lee that I need just to accept the things that as they are, because my daughter actually is okay. Even if she had a rough day, she is okay. But I'm just I'm feeling led aside from that circumstance, and I want to be part of it. And that doesn't mean that is right or wrong. It's just that it's my daughter, and I want her be near to me, and that is what it's painful for me to accept. So I need to accept that, because right now, today, I am asked to be here for some higher reason, even if it's something that I caused or not. I am here and she's there with her dad, and that it's all God's doing. So acceptance, I already had it like in perspective. But by doing this, Lee gave me his book because he has the same books that you have, and he handed it to me with a uh, how do you call these things that bookmark, and the bookmark has highlighted a part of this same book that is about resentment, and it caught my attention. So I went to the page and he has highlighted a tool that I can use today, and I want to share it with you because I know that for Linda and everybody else that was doing this, it could be helpful, and it gave me kind of release of this situation, even if I am still like chewing the situation in my mind. So about resentment, he says, if you have a resentment you want to be free of, if you will pray for the person or the thing that you resent, you will be free. If you will ask in prayer for everything you want for yourself to be given to them, you will be free. Ask for their health, their prosperity, their happiness, and you will be free. Even when you don't really want it for them, and your prayers are only words, and you don't mean it, go ahead and do it anyway. Do it every day for 2 weeks, and you will find to, you will find you have come to mean it and to want it for them. And you will realize that where you used to feel bitterness and resentment and hatred, you will now feel compassionate, understanding, and love about them. So I'm going to do that because I have been saying in my mind that he is the best father in the world and whatever, but I have been keeping the aspect of himself, of a guy, of a man that needs to have love in his life. And I have been judging his ways with his new partner because I am judging him doing all over the same mistakes that he did with me. So I haven't been able to see him fully, completely like this holy man that he should be, as I am a holy woman too. So I'm going to do that for myself. And I want to share that because it is a nice way to find resonance in what is going on when you ask for help and share your experience. Thank you very much, Bob.
Well, today was magnificent, guys, and I did not stop the stream like I said I was going to, so we've got a great recording of the last couple of hours for anybody who finds it helpful and wants to share. Um, you're welcome to, and that's why we're here. And tomorrow morning, I'll read the next lesson, 207, and I'll start at about 6:30. Thank you guys so much for sharing. Rosa, I'd love to hear what you're thinking.
You know what? I wanted to remind Adriana an experience that I went through with my only child, and I didn't have a ex-husband in that my experience. However, children go through phases. We all do. At certain stages and ages in our life, it's a typical behavior. How old is Adriana?
Sorry, can you ask?
Almost 40, a little younger than 40.
Adriana. I mean, not no, no, no. Your daughter, Adriana.
You meant the daughter.
My
Your daughter.
my daughter is 6 years old. Six.
Okay. So now, one of the things that I learned through my education, in becoming a teacher, they take you through Maslow's behavior cycle. The fear. He he created the study that tells our psychological development and physical development at certain ages in our lives. And from infancy to 6 is when children are experimenting with their understandings, their limits, their all that. They're learning their independence. They're learning how to manipulate us as adults. They know what gets us and what gets them what they want. And as long as we are not aware of that, they will manipulate us and the situation unconsciously. because children want what they want without any resentments or guilts or anything. They see it, they want it, no matter what it is, because they're learning what it is to be here. You have only begun, my darling, dealing with your feelings of guilt, your feelings of not knowing, your feelings of being the adult in the situation. It is so, it is not anything that any other parent is going through, because they're here to teach us lessons. Remember, your child is not yours. They chose you because God wanted you to learn something. I don't know what it is. And they really don't know or remember now either. But they made an agreement. Like she said, like who said, talking about the four agreements
Janine.
with
Was
the-
Janine.
yeah, Miguel. His last name is Miguel. Anyway, who wrote that?
Yeah, Don Miguel Ruiz. That's what it is.
Yeah, right. And these are
Sounds
things
Colombian
that
to me.
he is. He is Hispanic based somewhere along Don Miguel. I love him. He has another one out after well, anyway, that's not the story. But we do these things. And some of us, even at the ripe old age of 40, are bound to these agreements that they made when they got here, to the belief systems that they were introduced to from the time of infancy when they took that first breath on earth. They instantly mixed in all the stuff that's going on here with all the things that they came here with. And so, as the Course says, we're trying to remember, to remember the things that we came here with. But it is not anything that anyone has a hold on. We all go through it. We all go through it. Every emotion that you are feeling as a parent, we have all gone through it. Us who have old children and grandchildren. My grandson will be 21 and my granddaughter will be
That's the truth,
13.
Rosa.
And I'm telling you, girl, look, let me tell you something. You ain't felt nothing, Adriana, until your daughter actually starts having more friends than you.
Especially
Yeah,
around what,
my
right?
God.
12, around that age?
I'm telling
12
you,
and in the
when they
teen
get 12,
years.
they don't want to be bothered with you at all.
Uh-huh.
It's my friends, my friends, my friends.
That's what I want her so badly now. I mean, that is what
But
I
you
feel
can't do
that
nothing
I'm
about it.
missing.
You need to get your
Yeah,
wants
I
out of
know.
God. God did not
I
give
know.
you that child for you.
Yeah,
You are
I
just a
know.
caretaker. That's it. She ain't yours.
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
She's here to learn her own experience. And no matter how much, no matter how much we want to protect them and we want to teach them and we want to show them, just be you, Adriana. Guess what?
Yeah,
He's going to
that's true.
appreciate you for being you and offering her a way out when she makes those mistakes. I never forget, I always taught my daughter, you have your own mind. You make your decision, you going to live with your consequences, and I ain't saving you. I'm not, look, let me say this
You
one,
look
and please
so
don't
much
get
to my
offended.
mom. My mom said that to
Look,
me at 15, 16. My mom said that to me. You look a lot like my mom in life, you know?
hey, look,
Your
let me tell you
story and
something.
everything. It's funny.
I
It's
am not,
beautiful.
I am not the one, I am not rescue. What is it? I'm not Superwoman. I don't rescue nobody. All I do is do me, and you can look at what I do. Ask me questions if you want. My daughter and I are very close. However, I don't get in her business and she don't get in mine. And I mean personal business. We don't talk about each other's lovers and husbands or, if we have a problem or a situation, she'll come to me. But she has never bad mouthed her ex husband to me. All she said is if he would just grow up, because he's a little mama's boy, kind of. And she said if he would just let go of his mama, because she's an independent woman. I told her that way. I told my daughter on the grounds that I wasn't going to be here. I honestly thought that I was not going to see my daughter grow up. So I treated her and taught her how to survive without me, period. And that was my mind thinking that it was my destiny to die at the same time, at the same age that my mother died.
And you get to watch how good a job you did now.
Thank you, because people say that all the time, and I'd be like, "That ain't me. That was God." Because when she was growing up, I was still doing me and her at the same time, which is almost impossible. It damn near killed me. So, I learned some lessons. I keep my hands off their lives. I love my grandchildren. Do I see them every day, every week, every month? No. Do I talk to them? Yes. Do I video call them? Yes. Do they do me? Yes. But and I'm like 30 minutes away from them, you know? So I have learned acceptance. I don't fuss with them. I don't make them feel like, oh, they need to come see their Mima. I don't make them feel guilty if I don't. I don't make them feel guilty about anything. I don't do the guilt trip with people. I want to. Don't get me wrong. I want to. I want to say, you said you were going to do so
Oh
and
my
so and
God.
blah, 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 blah. But I don't.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I
that's what I
don't.
need to learn. That's why I really listen everybody's opinion and situations and every feedback that I can get, because that is my huge lesson. Every time that I get triggered, my reaction is less explosive, I guess. But the remaining thing there is exactly like that. Like, I didn't ask you for this, but now you're causing this, so I'm gonna just blame you, because at the end I am blaming myself for causing this kind of disruption in Bear's life. That is not a disruption at all, but I think it is because I don't have her here with me. So I totally appreciate your perspective, Rosa. You sound so close to my heart now. Well, every single time that you talk is like talking to my mom. So I really love you. Thank you very much. That is
Well,
my lesson to learn.
I want to say to you, Adriana, it does get better. It does get better. And you will feel so good. I'm going to tell you, the first time that it really got better for me was the first Christmas that my daughter gave me my first piece of jewelry, my first present ever. She ain't asked me for the money. She ain't do nothing. She just had the gift wrapped under the tree. When I got that, I realized that I had done a good job, because she did this off the top of her head, and I didn't do Christmas. We did Kwanzaa. We did the
Ah,
gift every day thing. I grew up in that kind of. She grew up in that kind of lifestyle.
no.
You know, the Pan
No.
African lifestyle. But she loves Christmas. Loves it. And so you do the best you can, and don't beat up on yourself, because it gets better. It does. I promise you.
Ah,
It
You'll
does
miss
get
yeah,
it.
better.
thank you
And,
so
and let
much.
me, I'll throw in one little thing about what happened with me with my son. And, oh no, I got separated. We separated first. And I think my son was he around 12? Maybe a little younger. And, but anyway, I'm not going to get into all my story, but I just